pillows in the background. Just ignore that. Anyway, I went to a REIA meeting the other day. Hey y'all, I'm Whitney from She Buys It. And a REIA meeting is a Real Estate Investors Association meeting. I joked on Instagram that this was my 472nd REIA meeting in my life, which is a joke. It's probably a slight exaggeration, but somebody on Instagram was kind enough to tell me that I probably had not been to 472, or however many I said, real estate meetings. And so yes, it was a slight exaggeration. But the point is, I've been to a lot of REIA meetings. I love Real Estate Investing Association meetings. And whether it's like an actual official national REIA sponsored, not sponsored, but like accredited meeting, or whether it's 20 or 30 real estate investors meeting in the back room at, well, we meet at the Chop House. We've met at, oh, what's that burger place over next to the ballpark? Not Sticky Fingers, that's a barbecue place. But anyway, we'll meet in the back room of wherever you want to be, all right? And we'll talk about real estate investing. I went to a REIA meeting in the back room of like a Golden Corral one time. I'll go anywhere for a REIA meeting. Sometimes the REIA meetings are in hotel ballrooms, and Peyton is absolutely right. REIA meetings are super informative and great for networking. That's what REIA meetings are made for. And I gotta admit that when I started real estate investing, I didn't know what a REIA was. And I didn't know that REIAs existed. And I couldn't for the life of me figure out why I needed to go to another meeting. Well, let's talk about 3 main reasons that you need to go. And let's talk about how you can be prepared for a REIA meeting. I learned on Instagram after I went to that REIA meeting, I said, hey, does anybody else get nervous walking into a REIA meeting? And 100% of the people who answered that poll said, yes, I get nervous walking into REIA meetings. I was like, well, that's perfect because I still get nervous and I've been to lots of them. And then I asked another question. I said, how many of you have ever been to a REIA meeting? Or I think I said, have you ever been to a REIA meeting? And most people said no. Which means a lot of people don't know about them, or they don't feel prepared to go to them, or they're held at times that are inconvenient or not in a location that's convenient for people to get to, or there's some other reason, but for some reason, people aren't going to REIA meetings. So let's talk about this, and let's talk about how you can be prepared so that way you don't feel as nervous, or you know what to expect, or all those things, and you'll feel more confident to walk into a REIA meeting. I want to re-emphasize that Peyton is absolutely right. REIA meetings are informative and great for networking. I think a lot of people don't want to go to a REIA meeting because they don't know everything yet. Well, ladies, listen. The REIA meetings are informative. You go to the REIA meeting to learn, to get information, to grow. Somebody asked me like, well, Whitney, why do you still go to REIA meetings? I don't know everything that there is to know about real estate investing. But Whitney, you coach people on real estate investing. Yeah, but that doesn't mean that I know everything that there is to know. The reason I know so much is because I keep learning. I keep gathering information. I keep going to these REIA meetings. And I go to REIA meetings all over the country. I've been to meetings in Florida. I've been to meetings in Georgia. I've been to meetings all over Tennessee. I'm going to go to Pennsylvania to some meetings. I had dinner with the president of the National REIA last July when I was in Chicago. All right, you can never know everything that you're ever going to need to know. So you got to keep going. And I don't know if you ever don't get nervous walking into a REIA meeting, even if it's like your home REIA meeting. One reason I think I get nervous walking in is because I know my life is about to change. I'm about to get that one nugget that I need that sends me off into another form of investing. So here's what you're going to need if you want to be prepared to go to a REIA meeting. And this is what I want you to, hold dear in your heart. The first thing that you need to know is that by simply attending the REIA meeting, you're years ahead of your competition. That's a fact. And I don't care if there's 10 people at the meeting and it's only 30 minutes. Because there are hundreds of thousands of people sitting at home while you're at that REIA meeting, and they're sitting at home watching HGTV reruns, and they're pinning things on Pinterest, and they're drowning in a sea of information, but they're not actually getting anything done. And by you taking the initiative and actually going to this meeting, you're blowing your competition out of the water. Because it takes massive action to be successful in real estate investing. And that includes surrounding yourself with other real estate investors. I highly encourage every woman in First Little and Fast to go to REIA meetings. I require the women in FDDF Plus and the Mastermind to go to one REIA meeting a month. I go to about one REIA meeting a week because I'm a complete real estate nerd and I love hanging out with other real estate nerds. But I require it once a month because I know how important it is to go back and get that motivation and inspiration and fellowship, honestly, with other people that are going through or have already been through what you are trying to accomplish. So the first thing is you're winning just by being there. So go ahead and give yourself a pat on the back for that. Okay? You are awesome because you're at the REIA meeting. The second thing that you need to know is everybody else is nervous. Okay? And whether it's your 400th REIA meeting or whether it's your first one. I remember my first one. And when I walked into my first REIA meeting, I was super nervous. I had a real estate license. I had 2 rental houses. I had a bunch of land, but I didn't feel like a real estate investor. I was a real estate investor though. But I walked in, didn't know anybody, didn't really understand what they were talking about because real estate investors use a lot of words that just don't make any dad-blame sense. A lady asked me today, she said, all right, I'm a total newbie, but will you tell me what a cash buyer is? And I was like, yeah, no problem. A cash buyer is somebody who's buying the property with cash, like with their actual life savings or like actual money out of their checking account. Most real estate investors are using some sort of cash. That's totally true. But most real estate investors are using banks or financing or private money or something. They're not actually writing a check out of their pocket. And there's a difference between using other people's money and qualifying as a cash buyer because you're using cash. I mean, come on, nobody's using monopoly money to do these deals. Every deal is coming down with cash. It's just most of them are using some sort of financing. But let's say you got $100,000 from an inheritance. You can spend that $100,000 on real estate. You can just write a check and you were a cash buyer. When I bought my first piece of property at auction, it was $1,200. I just wrote a check with cash for $1,200 plus closing taxes, whatever, blah, 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 blah. But I was a cash buyer. When I bought my first house, again, at auction, I was a cash buyer. You have to put your money down for the buyer's premium. That's cash out of your pocket. And then you have to close in 30 days. And that's usually not enough time to get financing. I used my life savings. I used every piece of cash I had to buy that first house. And then to buy my second house, I bought it from a for sale by owner. And I used my brother's life savings. So we were cash buyers. So when you go into these REIA meetings, know that they're going to use terms, they're going to use vocabulary words, and it's going to sort of sound like English, but sometimes it doesn't make any sense. Like the word closing has so many definitions, it makes me nauseous. It's insane. A closing is not always a closing, like a closing is a closing. So be prepared that when you go to the REIA meetings, they will probably use some words that you don't understand, but that's fine. I had a coach, I had a mentor when I started in creative financing for 6 months. And we spoke for an hour every week on Mondays at 9 a.m. It's the only time that I was allowed to call and ask questions. And he kept talking about staying in the deal, staying in the deal, staying in the deal. Are you going to stay in the deal or are you going to get out? Are you going to stay in the deal or are you going to get out? And those sound like English words. Are you going to stay in the deal or are you going to get out? I can't tell you how many times he asked me that. And it was always a 50-50 shot. I'd flip a coin to decide if I was going to stay in or get out. I had no idea what those words actually meant. I had no idea. And that sounds stupid. I recognize that, but I'm a slow learner. Okay? And when I would ask a question about it, because I didn't want him to know that I was a moron and I didn't understand what he was saying. I wanted just to go through and see what he would say, and then maybe I'd figure out what he actually meant. Well, 2 months after my coaching was over, I finally figured out what he meant by staying in the deal or getting out. I'm a slow learner, and that's why, and those sound like English words, right? Do you want to stay in the deal or do you want to get out? But I had no idea what he was talking about. I just wanted to make money. I just wanted to do a deal. I just wanted to close. I just want to get another check. You tell me if I'm going to stay in or get out. Don't make me make a decision. So if you walk into a REIA meeting and they're talking about stuff you don't understand, it's fine. I've been there. And that's one reason that I break down real estate terms and vocabulary words, and every other day I post up, here's a term that you might hear at a REIA meeting, and this is what it means. Here's an example. Because I never want to confuse you. I never want you to feel like you're stupid. I never want you to feel like you should know this. You're at the REIA meeting because you want to know more. You want to understand more. You want to be around other people with different experiences and different opinions, and maybe teach you what it means to stay in or get out. By the way, if you're going to stay in the deal, especially on a lease option, then you're going to get the deal for 5 or 10 years, and you're going to sell it to somebody else for a year or two, and you're going to stay in the middle of the deal so that you're dealing with the seller and then you're dealing with the tenant buyer. If you get out of the deal, then you basically set the seller up to deal directly with the buyer. You get an assignment fee and you're out. Well, nobody could explain that to me when I was getting started, and I ended up getting out of all the deals because I didn't know what it was going to entail for me to stay in it. Turns out you make a lot more money if you stay in the deals. So after I figured it out in my second year, I kept all the deals. I stayed in the middle of all the deals. It was one of my tenant buyers actually that explained it to me. Go figure, right? So I also want you to know, first things first, you're there, you're winning. Second thing, you're going to learn things. Don't feel like you need to know everything when you go in, and don't be afraid if you don't understand something to pull somebody to the side later, or pull me to the side and say, hey, they talked about this. Can you tell me about it? It's fine. I'll help you the best I can. I probably have a YouTube video on it. The third thing I want you to know is that every REIA is different. And go try as many as you want to. It's like churches. You need to go find one that suits you and your style and will help you grow with your goals. I have a friend who went to a ton of REIA meetings and she just didn't like it, and she didn't really like the people, and it never felt like something she actually wanted to do. She was always just dreading it, right? So she said, you know what? I'm going to start my own REIA meetup. And she's not an official National Real Estate Investor Association REIA meeting. She's just a group of people who want to do real estate investing, and they meet at a certain date and time at a certain place. And now her meetings are bigger than all the others because she wasn't the only one that didn't like that style. So please go try lots of different REIAs. I was in Atlanta. I went to the South Atlanta REIA, and Stacey Rossetti is awesome. I will go back to those REIA meetings. They're fantastic. But there's like 7 different REIAs in Atlanta. So if you go to one and don't like it, go try another one. There's probably like 15 or 20 unofficial real estate investor meetings going on in Atlanta. I know the South Atlanta REIA has like 7 different subgroups that meet once or twice a month. Maybe the big REIA isn't where you want to be, but you find a subgroup. It's kind of like having a small group at church. You find a subgroup that really benefits you. Well, go hang out with them. But know that just because you walk into your first REIA meeting, you need to go back. You need to try it again, or you need to try a different one, or you need to dig a little deeper and see maybe your REIA meeting has a women in real estate meeting. Maybe, I know our Knox REIA, we have a Spanish real estate investor subgroup meeting. I'm going to talk to Victor next week about having a women real estate investor subgroup meeting because I love helping women get their deals done. Maybe you have a wholesaling subgroup meeting. Maybe you have a private money lending subgroup meeting, and that's where you really want to be, or an apartment subgroup, or like whatever it is. Just because you go to one, they're all different, and you need to go and try lots of different ones to make sure that you really find where you need to be. And as you grow and as your business grows, you might need to change up where you go. Because every new level of you is going to require a different level of support and encouragement and love and a little bit of a kick in the pants. So go try lots of REIAs. All right? Recap, go. You're winning just by going. 2, you don't have to know anything or everything. Just go. And 3, keep going. Go try new ones. But the point is, go to REIA meetings. Go nerd out with other real estate nerds. And if you're not a real estate nerd yet, but you want to be, go to the REIA meetings because they're all there. And I say that proudly as a real estate nerd. Y'all let me know if you have any questions, but get out there and go to your REIA meetings. Bye, y'all.